Well, hello. Episode 8 with Cian Smith. Thank you for those who listened to last week's episode with Declan and McNulty. I thought that was a brilliant episode. It was a new type of episode, and once again, we're doing that sort of episode today. So I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. It's going to be like this for a few weeks, I suppose, or months, I don't know, because of this unfortunate event that's going on. Keep in tune for this next episode with the Assist's new single, and they'll be raising money for the NHS, but I'll talk a bit more about that in that episode, so keep in tune for that. But yeah, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, get listening to it. And now we've got another fella on today from Leeds as well, and it's Cian Smith, or Cian John Smith. That's his name on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow him, go follow him and that. And get listening to his music. It's really good. His music, to me, gives me a bit of a Richard Ashcroft the Verve type vibe, which I love because I love Richard Ashcroft. I love the Verve, and it just sounds brilliant. And his music is so chill. It's so good. It's such chill music, nice, easy listening music, and that's what I like. So he's like one of my favourite musicians at the moment. Been listening to him a lot, and yeah, and I played one of his songs one day before on a podcast on SoundCloud called "Crashing in with a Twist." So yeah, I'm going to re-upload that episode at some point, and you can give that a listen. And yeah, and we reviewed the song and that. That's when I first got in contact with Cian, and he got back to me and says about what I put out on Instagram. Put like singer-songwriters bands get in touch with me and we can do a podcast. And he got in touch with me first, and then now we're doing a podcast. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and see you all in a bit.
So, to tell you a bit about myself, I'm a 21-year-old young man from Leeds, West Yorkshire, England, United Kingdom. I think I could get away with calling myself sort of a part-time musician at this point. I mean, I don't earn a great deal of money out of my music, but I've been told that I'm all right. So, I mean, I'll try. That's the most pleasant thing I can think of describing myself as, a part-time musician. I studied music journalism at the University of Huddersfield for 3 years, which is where my background sort of comes from, and I just decided I wanted to have a go at writing my own tunes and stuff. So that's led me to sort of be on this podcast at this point. Callum likes a bit of my music, which is very kind of him. He's played it on his podcast before. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Now that's a bit of a difficult question to answer, really, because I wouldn't really describe myself as being in the music scene as such. I've not really got my grounding just yet as a musician. I've not started playing gigs. I was leading up to that point when this whole coronavirus thing hit, so I'm waiting until sort of that's blown over. But at the moment, I was in and around the music scene in Huddersfield when I was a student, because it was my job to write about music. So there's a few venues that I'd frequent around there. As a sort of onlooker, as a member of the audience, but I've not actually played many gigs as a musician just yet. I'm mainly, up until this point, focused on writing songs, because there's no point, if you want to be an authentic and self-made musician, in just going out and, in my eyes anyway, going out and playing a load of covers of other songs. I think you really have to forge your own identity as a songwriter, and that's sort of what I've been doing up until this point. But I'm hoping to become part of the music scene very soon when all this lockdown thing's over. But at the moment, I've sort of been in the shadows a little bit, and I've been watching and just waiting for my opportunity. I think what motivated me the most was when I was at college. I didn't really have. I studied for 5 years. Really, I studied journalism, but for 3 at university doing music journalism and 2 at college doing a regular journalism course. And that was my main outlet for being creative, but it just wasn't enough for me. I mean, I was fairly creative in terms of my writing style as a journalist, but that wasn't enough for me, and I hadn't really gotten into music as much as other people had until I was about 15, and that's when I really started finding interest in things that I thought were worth listening to. And then when I was sort of 16, I got real into the Beatles, and the Beatles to me is sort of the archetypal blueprint that most musicians follow, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, you can choose worse people to be influenced by, definitely. And at that time in my life, I'd just had a bit of a double whammy of a breakup and my granddad passing away, so I had a lot of emotion I needed to vent, and there was no sort of healthy way to do it in the confines of anywhere that I'd previously discovered. I couldn't really write about it in journalism because it's a real pointless thing to write, and I decided I was going to teach myself how to play the guitar, and I had a basic knowledge of how to play the guitar at that point. So I thought I'll start writing songs and see where it goes, and it took me until I was about 18 at university to sort of start getting anywhere with that, with the technicality and the skill required to craft a song. So as to recording, I didn't really start recording my stuff properly. I mean, I used to do voice notes on my iPhone just to send to family and friends because I was quite happy with the things I was doing. It wasn't until I started working at a place called Hackett, which is a sort of clothing store / tailors in Leeds, and I started working with a guy called Denny, that I actually did start recording, because he was as much of a musician as I am, a lot better than I am. He'd been in several very successful bands, and he sort of listened to my tracks, and he had done a music production degree at university, and he had all the equipment there to actually produce music. So he said to me, you've written 1 or 2 good songs, why don't you come round to my house and we'll do some recording? And that was really sort of liberating for me. It gave me a whole other sort of spectrum, a sort of painter's palette, if you will, of things I could do, because before I was just on an acoustic guitar recording on my iPhone, and now when he invites me around to his house, which he's kind enough to do fairly often, we can do anything, and we write together sometimes, which is also very, very good fun. So motivation sort of comes out of the craft itself. I think if you want to be anything in life, you really have to be motivated by it on its own, with all the sort of gloss and finish stripped away from it. So, for example, if you want to be an author, you've got to love reading and you've got to love writing. If you want to be a racing driver, you've got to love cars, you've got to love everything that comes with it. And it's very much an all-encompassing thing when you've got a passion for something like that. And it sort of bit me quite bad, that bug, and I've been writing ever since, really. There's quite a few people that I'd cite as my inspirations. I'm very much into classic rock and a little bit of the mod scene. So the Who are big ones for me. The Faces a little bit as well. Uh, Obviously, I mentioned the Beatles. The Beatles were the single influence that kick-started my love of music. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. Guys like Oasis as well, because they came from a very similar background to me, sort of from a working class family. And Noel, particularly teaching himself how to play the guitar, is sort of, I mirror that in the 21st century, where he used radios to sort of copy guitar chords. I would look on YouTube and look at videos there, so that sort of gave me even more motivation to move forward, because I'd heard their music and thought, if he can do it, so can I. So really them. And then from the point of view as a guitarist, I'd say people like Eric Clapton, particularly in the Cream days in from the Blues Breakers and Yardbirds days up until, I'd say, Layla and Other Sorted Love Songs, that I've got a real sort of interest in his career, and he mesmerises me. Hendrix is another one. Everyone can say that if you're a guitar player and you aspire to be anyway good, Hendrix is going to be an influence on you at any point, because he's the king of all sort of guitar players. He sits at the right hand of the guitar gods. He's unbelievable. So Jake Bugg as well recently has been quite an inspiration, because he writes, his lyrics are always spot on, I think. Jerry Cinnamon as well, those are two people whose lyrics are always spot on, and I think I'm lacking a little bit as a lyricist. So those people particularly, there's sort of, to me, there's two types of inspiration. There's a songwriter and there's a guitar player, and I wouldn't ever class myself as a singer-songwriter for the reason that I've never aspired to be one. I've always wanted just to be a songwriter and a guitarist. So those are the two main inspirations I draw from. As much as I do sing and I write my own songs, I would rather class myself as a songwriter and a guitar player than I would a singer-songwriter, if that makes sense. My first ever gig was at a place in Leeds called Chapel FM, and it's a sort of youth radio station. It teaches young people who live in an area of Leeds which there isn't great many opportunities for people to use radio equipment and stuff. And I'd had experience using radio before, although I'd never done anything for them. So they were on my radar, and one of my friend's father-in-laws, Johnny, I went round to his house for a barbecue with my friend, and he played the guitar, and we spent an afternoon just playing together and talking about music. And he said he was playing this 24-hour music event at Chapel FM, and he wondered if I'd like to join him. So my first time on stage was really just doing an hour of messing about on the guitar with him and doing one of my own tracks for the first time live. And although there wasn't many people there because it was quite early in the morning, it was very nerve-wracking, because throughout my life I've always been taught that a man's skill lies in sort of something very physically demanding or manual labour, or a skill that's not creative, and it was a very hard thing for me to look past when I started writing songs. But when I got into it, it sort of just felt as if I was in a little bubble, and I couldn't see or hear anyone. I could just hear the music that I was playing, and it's almost like meditation. You get a little bit lost in the music, and you don't see yourself playing it as much as you hear it being played. It's a very odd feeling, and it was really good for me in terms of my courage to play in front of an audience. And I've since played there several times, and it's great fun. But it's really a good foundation playing somewhere like that, because the audience there as well are very kind. They're not very judgmental. They don't ever boo you or anything, which is what you would expect coming from a background like mine and just seeing professional bands playing, and if they play badly they get booed and all that. It's a very good grounding to have and build your confidence quite well, and I think that was very good for me as a singer-songwriter, guitarist, songwriter, whatever you'd like to call me.
Now, time for a bit of music, and here's a track by Cian called One Day. It's one of my favourite tracks, and this is on YouTube, so be sure to go give it a like and a share and get his music out there.
Can't you see the smoke is on the water? It lingers after summer, and it sticks around like a song going through my head. Maybe I should head out for a wander and lift on over yonder. Won't say goodbye, 'cause you just don't have the time. I can feel the world is turning, it's leaving me behind. But that's alright, it's okay. One day this world will turn my way. I can feel the wind is changing and it's gonna blow my mind. But that's alright, it's okay, one day this wind will blow away. Can't you hear the voices in the shadows? They whisper to my sorrows, taking up my mind when I just don't have the time. Maybe I should wait a little longer and take the time to ponder where the grass is green as the envy on the other side. I can feel the world is turning and it's leaving me behind. But that's alright, it's okay, one day this world will turn my way. I can feel the wind is changing and it's gonna blow my mind. But that's alright, it's okay, one day this wind will blow away. Can't you see the smoke is on the water, lingers after summer, and it sticks around like a song going through my head. Maybe I should head out for a wander and drift on over yonder. Won't say goodbye 'cause you just don't have the time. I can feel the world is turning, it's leaving me behind. But that's alright, it's okay, one day this world will turn my way. I can feel the wind is changing and it's gonna blow my mind. But that's alright, it's okay, one day this wind will blow away.
What I love most about gigs is, it depends. As a member of the audience, it's obviously always very fulfilling to see someone that you love play. Like I saw Cabbage play in Huddersfield once or twice, and they were excellent band to see live. And I'd never really had a great interest in them before, but it sparked that interest. It's sort of the gig experience is sort of a 4D experience. It's not something that people are used to these days because there's so much on video that you can see on YouTube and stuff. So the gig isn't such a enticing prospect to young people as it should be. But once you get bitten by that bug, I think it's very hard to give it up because there's several sorts of craft as a musician. One of them playing in the studio and one of them playing live are both very different. You need to captivate people playing live more so than you do in a recording studio. And I'm very good at the latter, but I'm still learning how to do the former. And I think it's worth its weight in gold, to be honest, playing a gig and going to a gig. As an audience member, as I've said, it's that thrill of seeing people that love you. But as the musician, I think it's an opportunity to me, it's like being both at once. Because like I said, I don't see myself playing. I hear the music and I get lost in the atmosphere. And the whole thing mixes together like some sort of concoction of just sheer gold. It's unbelievable, especially when you can captivate an audience. That's always great fun as well. So yeah, I think gigs are just wonderful places to be in, and when you've got a shared interest with everyone in a room, it really helps as well. It really helps that atmosphere. So the latest demo I put on YouTube was sort of the latest in a line of attempts of mine to record my own music. I was sort of encouraged by Denny, who I mentioned previously, to do this by means of using my phone and an iRig, which both have proved invaluable tools to me, and I'm quite happy with the quality I've been able to get out of them without any professional equipment. I mean, the vocals for that track were recorded on my iPhone microphone, the same microphone that you would use in a phone call on through a pair of headphones, as was the guitar. And then all I did was layer the vocals through 2 tracks and the guitar through another. I recorded them separately, and it achieved quite a nice effect. I think it helps having those sort of apps and such at our fingertips these days, that young people who might not be able think they're able to do that sort of thing really have the opportunity to give it a go. In terms of writing the song, I say any songwriter. Some people probably find it as easy as breathing, writing songs, but to me, it's almost like overloading a little bit, because when you sit down to write a song and you know that's your intention, you've got this whole world, but you're always trying to write something very specific. And if you can't get it right, I'm quite the perfectionist. And if I can't get it bang right, I don't release it, or I don't record it, or I don't finish the song, which is a shame, because looking back, there's a few lines, lyrics, songs that I've come up with that I wish I would have finished, because they would have turned out okay. But I'm always striving for perfection, which isn't a great thing. But that song in particular, I had no intention of really writing a song that day. I was just playing on my guitar, and I found a chord that I liked. Don't ask me to tell you which one, because I don't know. I'd tuned my guitar down a step, and I had a capo at the 3rd fret. If there's any musicians listening or guitarists, you'll understand what I mean. And I'd played an open F chord, and that really resonated. Well, I played an A minor, then I played an open F, and I thought, oh, that's a nice chord. And it sort of flourished from there, really. And once I had the chords, I listened to them, and they sort of put me in mind of a very calm place. And I thought of the sea and such like. And the lyrics, just what I did was I just set my phone to record and sang what came to my mind first. And luckily those lyrics were quite good. They were very fitting of the track. And it's an example of what you do when you don't set your mind to do anything and it just falls out of the sky, as it were. It's a really fulfilling process a lot of the time, but sometimes it can be like pulling teeth, to be honest. So that track literally took me about half an hour to write. There is only 4 verses and it is only a 2-minute 30 song, but it was important to me to keep it as short as possible, because the track itself, there's not many wailing guitars on it. It's a very calming track, so if you can keep that short, it'll keep people's attention for a little bit longer, I think. And I think it is a good song. Whether other people agree with me, that's yet to be revealed. In terms of gigs and such, as I've said, I'm unable to attend any because of the coronavirus. I'm unable to play any. I'm hoping to start playing a little bit more around my local area at open mic nights and such, and see what comes of it. At the moment, I'm sort of waiting on a microphone to arrive, a Rode microphone. I've bought a lot of recording equipment, and I'm planning on making an acoustic EP or an album in my house now that I've nothing else to do. So mainly these last few days have been taken up, rather than worrying about playing live or anything or getting gigs. It's more to do with I could build myself a little bit of a profile through the songs that I write now. So I've not really anything upcoming. I don't think anyone does right now. So yeah, will I make an EP at some point? Yeah, the EP is incoming. I'm just waiting on the equipment that I need to record it, really. So there's not much else to do, really. I've been listening to other artists like Declan McNulty, who was on your podcast. He's local to this area. I've listened to a few of his tracks, and I think he's really good. He's got the look that I don't have, especially, which is something that I'm after. I might have to talk to him about that if I'm lucky enough to meet him. But I've been just mainly listening to things that I wouldn't usually listen to. A lot of folk music, a lot of Delta blues as well, just to try and give me that inspiration, so that when I go to write and I go to play gigs, I've got something a little bit different to bring along with me. I haven't got a website. I have got social media, so My social medias are at Mr. Cian John Smith on Twitter. That's MR for Mr. CIAN for my foolish Irish name. JOHN for John and Smith, spelt Smith, on Twitter. That's the same on Instagram. I don't have Facebook at the moment because it was fucking me off and I really could not be arsed with it with all this coronavirus stuff going around. So I'll reactivate that when this is all over. But I don't really post much on there anyway. I don't have a website. The main place to sort of see news about my music is YouTube and Instagram, to be honest. Those are the only two that I really post about. I would like to add that I really love the podcast. I think it's a really interesting endeavour, and it's a testament to what you can do if you put your mind to something. You've not waited around to see anyone about, opportunities or anything. You're not sat on your backside doing nothing. Even now, I'm being interviewed for this podcast when everyone in the world is locked down. So, I think it's a testament to what people can do if they can be asked, and I think it's a really good example to set listeners, people who are interested. So yeah, I think the podcast's amazing. I thought I'd just add that. Something inspiring to the listeners. One thing I will say is, I think I know a lot of people, I think everyone knows someone like this, who believes that they can't do something just because they've been put down all their life. And I've come from an environment where any creative output of mine was sort of not knocked or anything, not by my family at least, but especially in school. I never received any music tuition at school because my music teacher, Mr. Atkin, was an arsehole, and he never gave me any music tuition. He didn't bother. He thought it was more important that the special kids in the class who played instruments got tuition. I never got anything. I was never nurtured in that way by anyone but really a few people in my life. Like my English teacher, she had a lot of faith in me, my RE teacher at school. And then going on to college, it was the same again. There was only two people that really believed in me there, which were my radio teacher, Chris Wright, and one of the other colleagues called Andy Tillison, who's quite a famous punk guy from in Leeds. He was a tutor at the college, and they both believed in me and said that I could do good things. And really, sometimes people need to feel like they need to be vindicated and told that they've got talent, they should do something. But in reality, it's enough for you to believe that you've got the talent and to nurture it and let it grow. Then you should be fine. People need to put themselves out a little more and not be satisfied with the mundane and the sort of bullshit of everyday life. It's ridiculous sometimes, and there's people like me who've been put down their entire life so they don't believe they can do something. And I want to tell people, whoever you are, wherever you are, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. So please, if it's pick up a guitar and play a tune, try it. No harm in trying, is there? If you want to make your own podcast like Callum, do it. You don't see anyone else telling him to stop or anything. You've got to make your own future in this life, and I think it's very, very important that you all try to do something, especially now that we've not got anything to do. So please, for me, try your best at something. And I want to thank Callum for letting me come on the podcast. He might be playing one of my unreleased tracks. If he's not, Callum, you can edit this bit out. But if you are, Callum, you're more than welcome to use whatever tracks I've sent you whenever you want for anything. If you need a bed for anything, just use it. I don't mind. But thank you for having me on.
Take the sky, but leave the stars. I need the light to see. Crashing waves unto my heart, washing over me. Set the sail for where all winds blow, and live your life at sea. Take me into your loving arms, all the warmth I need. Take the sky, but leave the stars. I need the light to see. Crashing waves unto my heart, washing over me. Set the sail for where all winds blow. We'll live our lives at sea. Take me into your loving arms, all the warmth I need.
Wow, all I just want to say is legend. Brilliant musician, and I wish you all the fucking best. I really like your music, mate, and thanks for all the nice things you said about the podcast. And it's true, what you say about nothing can stop you, it's true, nothing can stop you, and people should have them think like that, just get on with life, do the shit they want to do, and enjoy their life, because you only have one shot at life, and make it a good one. So yeah, thank you, Cian, and please, people, give a listen to his music, subscribe to his channel, and yeah, he's brilliant, man. He deserves the best, man. I reckon he should get fucking signed and that, because I love his music. That's the type of music I like as well. I like my acoustic music. I like your inspirations, mate. And yeah, brilliant musician. That's all I have to say. And I remember when I first heard that track one day, and me and my boss was like, "Fucking hell, that was brilliant. That was a brilliant track." And we thought, that's all we had. No words, mate. I have no words. His music's good, and yeah, wish you the best, mate. So keep in tune for the next episode, people. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Next episode, I think it should be with the screens, but keep in tune for the assists, NHS promotional video type thing. I'm going to promote the track. It's going to come out later this week. It's Tuesday today, so it should be out by at least Thursday. So please keep in tune for that. Please like and subscribe, and if you want, put the notifications so you know when a video is coming out, because it's so random. Usually it's weekly, but it's random. I'm a bit random guy. I'll just do it when I please, you know what I mean. So the next episode, next proper podcast episode, I shall be with the screens. And keep in tune for an episode where I'm gonna do this thing where it's like a crashing in type show, and in this I think I might do a first video footage of me, and it's going to be basically, I'm going to try and get bands and that together and play video footage, like a little acoustic set, and I'm going to try and do something like that soon. I might call it the Crashing in Isolation vid or something like that. So keep in tune for something like that. I've got a lot coming up, especially with the radio, but due to this shite of a virus, we can't do it. We have to wait, because all the people at the radio station are broadcasting from home now, so they're alright. But I was just starting to get into radio, then it's like everything's stopping me, but this virus can feck off, that's all I can say, and hopefully we're all back to normal. Also, I just want to say God bless the NHS, and I just want to say good on the likes of Liam Gallagher and that, and I think it's Paul Eaton out of The Beautiful South, doing free concert at Wembley for the NHS, and I'm being a bit off with the Oasis reform, but for the NHS, I think that's a brilliant idea, and that'd be brilliant. And I love and the assist. Big shout out to them for what they're doing, but I'll talk a bit more about that on the next video. So see you all later. God bless, and stay safe. See you all later.